Hi everybody, Mrs. Plowman here. Your teachers have all been working so hard to make videos to teach your lessons, and I thought it was only right that I had a go at doing it. I've been watching how they do it and I've been learning from it because I love to learn new things, and here I am having my first go. So today we are learning to choose and use adjectives to describe ourselves. The best thing about this lesson is that anybody in Key Stage 2 can have a go at it and do the best with the words that you know. So if you're in years 3, 4, 5 and 6, everyone can watch this same lesson and participate at their own level. And then it'll be lovely to be able to show different examples of the work that we come up with. So for this lesson, you'll need some paper, maybe the exercise book that you've been sent home with, and a pen or a pencil, just something to write with, and of course your brain to get that learning going. So let's have a look at what's coming next. Move my picture. So the first step to success for our learning today is to be able to explain what job adjectives do. You might need to think about it and remember it from your previous learning, or you might talk about it with the people that you've got in your family at home. You never know, somebody older than you who goes to high school might be able to tell you what an adjective is. So discuss what adjectives are. Once we know that, we can move on with the rest of our learning. Pause the video and think about it now. What do you think? Can you come up with a definition for what adjectives are? Don't worry if not, because we've got one here. Adjectives are words that describe someone or something. So when we take out the word someone or something, we could replace that with noun, a naming word. Adjectives are words that describe nouns. For example, Mrs. Plowman is a noun. My ring is a noun. The adjective to describe my ring would be shiny. If you want an extra challenge whilst we're going through this, focus not only on thinking about adjectives, but also about thinking about the nouns that you are describing. So we now have achieved our first step to success. We're able to tell people, anyone who asks us, that adjectives are words that describe someone or something. They describe a noun. Our next step to success to achieve this learning is to be able to think of examples of adjectives when looking at a picture. Let's try it now to warm up our brains. Here is a picture of my cats. Would any of the adjectives that I've got down here describe these cats? Would they work? There's fluffy. I think that one would work. Little, soft, black and furry. The two other words there, sleek and curious, are higher level vocabulary. And why don't you go and get a dictionary and look up what they mean and see if they fit these cats and what they look like. By the way, for anyone thinking about nouns as well as adjectives, cat is the noun in this picture and these sentences that we're writing. Cat is the naming word. So to combine the two, we would say the fluffy cat. Fluffy is the adjective, cat is the noun. Have a think now to warm your brains up if there are any other adjectives you would use to describe these two cats. Meredith is on the left and she's the one with the red collar, and George is on the right, he's got a blue collar. They're only about 6 months old, and this is a picture taken from one of their first days outside when they were sitting up on top of the roof of the shed. I wonder what other adjectives you came up with. Let's have a look at another picture. Here is a picture of a beach. What adjectives could you use to describe this beach? You can see that this time I've hidden some words under the oval, the green oval. One of them starts with C and one of them starts with B. That's just to give you some little clues, but I bet you can come up with lots more descriptive words for this beach. By the way, if you're thinking about the extra challenge, beach and sand and sea are the nouns in this picture, and you could add adjectives before any one of them. So you could say the sandy beach. Beach is the noun, sandy is the adjective. I wonder if you came up with the words that are hidden behind my green oval: calm and beautiful. I bet you came up with so many more, though, to describe it. So we've already achieved 2 parts of our steps to success for our learning. We now can explain to anybody that adjectives are words used to describe something or someone. We can also begin to think of words, adjectives that fit a picture. The next step is to pick out adjectives in a sentence that somebody else has already written. If we can do that, then we must really be beginning to learn what adjectives mean. So I want you to find a book that you have at home, pick a page, pick a sentence. Can you find the person or thing that the sentence is about? That's the noun. Can you find how the person or thing, the noun, is being described? Make a list of adjectives you find, and later on in the week, when I ask you to, post them on Class Dojo. I wonder if we can get at least one per child in Key Stage 2. You can see behind me that I've got so many books that I could go and choose from, and I hope you've got some books at home that you could do this with too. So let's review our learning, and in your minds I want you to think how you're getting on with the steps to success for our learning. Ask yourself, can you tell someone else what job an adjective does? Can you look at a picture and think of some adjectives? Can you pick out adjectives in a sentence? If you can do all of those things, then you're well on your way to being successful in our learning today. If you can do all of those things, you're now ready to move to step 4, choosing appropriate adjectives to describe yourself. Appropriate is a really important word here. What it means in this context is to pick words that make sense with the thing that you are describing. For example, if I had used the word ginormous to describe my cats earlier in the slides, it wouldn't be appropriate. It wouldn't make sense because they're not ginormous, they're small. Whilst it's a great word and it's definitely an adjective, it wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't be appropriate for the thing that I was trying to describe. Similarly, if I'd said that the cats were red and I described them like that, it wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't be appropriate. So try to use words that make sense with whatever it is that you are trying to describe. This is the learning task for today. This is the task that you're going to do to show me your learning. We're going to use adjectives in a very simple poem about ourselves. Here is mine. It starts, I am. Just for those who are remembering nouns, I is the noun here. It's a pronoun. I am short, silly, happy, sad, quiet, busy, hungry. Extra question, just to think about. Does anyone know why I used commas at the end of each line? How many adjectives did I use in that list poem there? How many different ways did I describe myself with adjectives? Let's count. Short, silly, happy, sad, quiet, busy, hungry. 7. I used 7, but there's no limits on how many you can use in yours. Anyone worked out why I used commas at the end of each line? I hope what you've realised is I use them because it's a list poem, and when we're separating things in a list, we use a comma. When we get to the end of the list, that's when we put the full stop. Do you think any of those adjectives that I've used for me would be ones that you could use in your poem? Maybe you'd want to use some opposites. I am short. You might be tall. I am happy. But I've also got I am sad, because sometimes I can feel 2 different emotions. I am quiet. You might be a really loud person. That's just some examples from my poem, but hopefully you're going to be able to think of lots of other words that you could use as adjectives to describe yourself. You could, though, if you wanted a bigger challenge, do it like this. This poem has extended descriptive lines. So it still starts with I am and then lists my adjectives, but each one has been expanded. I'm going to read it for you now. I am short like a bush surrounded by trees in a forest. I am silly like a giggling baboon. I am happy because I am alive and I am loved. I am sad because there are so many people I don't get to see. I'm quiet because my thoughts are inside my head. I am busy as a bee in a garden. I am hungry all the time. Can you see how I've extended each of those lines? Pause the video now and discuss it with whoever you're with, or have a think in your own head. I wonder if you noticed what I did. I said I was short like a bush and silly like a giggling baboon and busy as a bee. All of those that have been coloured in blue are similes. I compared the description of myself to something else. So I said I'm short, but I'm like a short bush surrounded by trees which are much taller in a forest. I said I was silly like a baboon. I compared something about myself to something else. You could maybe do that with your poem. I also gave reasons for some of the adjectives I've chosen to use. Happy, sad and quiet. And I added those reasons with a because. I'm happy because I am alive and I am loved. I'm sad because there are so many people I don't get to see. The because adds a clause to my sentence, which gives further explanation. So you could maybe do that for some of the adjectives that you use to describe yourself. Hungry all the time. The bit in purple, all the time, is a phrase that tells the reader when this is happening. So you could use that to describe yourself. Let's move through to the next slide. It's your turn now to write a poem. You could write it, option A, the short list poem. Or you could write it as option B, with expanded descriptions. You could leave my examples on the board here for you to look at whilst you write your own. Or you might like to have this slide up, because this has lots and lots of different adjectives that you might want to pinch. I'd like to see someone's poem that says, I am hairy. When you've written your poem, with at least 7 adjectives in, but hopefully you'll beat mine, when you've written your poem, come back to this final slide and review your learning today. Hopefully you'll feel proud of what you've learnt, and you'll be able to tell me why you're proud of what you've learnt. You'll be able to say that you know the job an adjective does in a sentence, that it describes someone or something, or somewhere. You might even want to talk about how adjectives describe nouns, naming words. You will also be proud because you know you can look at a picture and begin to think of some adjectives to describe it. Think about if you can pick out adjectives in a sentence. That's one of the hardest challenges we've had today. And finally, have you been able to choose appropriate adjectives to describe yourself? If you've done all of that, then you've achieved the learning for today, and you should be really proud of yourself. If you've done some of those things, you should be really proud of yourself because you're well on the way to learning this. And often what happens with learning is we need to start off finding out about it on one day and then come back to it on another and build on what we know. Please share your poems on Portfolio on Class Dojo so I can see them. I'll be really proud of you if you do that. Thank you for all the learning and the thinking that you've done today. I'm proud of you.